Hello friends, thank you so much for clicking this video. I'm Sunday Hiwale, and in this video I made this. Now this is a simple mold I made in the workshop in here in Lagos, Nigeria, and I will be showing you how I make this from A to Z. It's a bit of a voiceover. I did the voiceover on this. This background sound was not so good, so and then it was recorded during the class, and then so that is why I did a voiceover on it. So come see how I make this. If you're a first timer, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe and then click on the notification bell for you to be notified when I have awesome videos like this again on my platform. Sunday Rally, then come and see the making process of it from A to
Welcome to my
Z.
decks. Welcome to my decks. Welcome to these decks. Before now, I've had my pattern now. I've cut the pattern for this project out. I have a series of pattern making videos. So for you to have a full understanding of how I generate this pattern out, then please check into my channel and you'll definitely see a pattern, shoemaking pattern clip in there. So once you get your pattern out to work on this move project, the pattern is out, I use the pattern to cut the leather out, knowing that this project I'm doing is in three parts. We have the tongue, which is whether the one which I'm marking on presently, and the one which the tongue drops on it and the flap on it. So there are just three parts to this project. So these three parts are going to be cut out, and the measurement of the thickness of the leather I'm using for this project, yours can vary. Definitely it can vary, different thickness of leather. This what I use here is 1.2 in thickness, because I consider still, because I'm still going to line the leather together, so I consider that before picking this leather. So after cutting the upper layer out, it's very important to get this one too out. Get this out, and one thing you should understand when you're doing shoe, this my voiceover I'm going to be doing to this is not just about the shoe. It's a thing that you can also apply to any other designs of shoes you want to make. Please, whenever you're cutting your leathers out, make sure you cut. I cut on the line, so I could be able to cut accurate. So accurate cutting matters a lot. So I cut it across. So these are the three parts of this project: the front, the back, and the tongue. So what happened in here is that after arranging that, what I'm gonna do in doing in here is to just then make the tips half of the tongue a bit thicker. So that is what I want to do. So remember I said 1.2 is the thickness of the leather which I use for this project. So I need to make it a bit thicker, because I want it I want a project that whenever we're done with it, it will be able to stand and retain the shape. So I glue it. The thickness of the lining leather, the leather which I use in lining it, is just 0.8 So in total, we're having that 2.1 in thickness of leather. So I've joined that in there. Look at the way I joined that halfway. This particular design is what I'm showing you how to. There are different ways at which you can achieve a mold design, but this particular project that I did, that we recorded, is what I'm voicing over to just explain to you in details. So after I do the tongue, which I'm going to be labeling as the pattern part, two two section of the second section of it, I've labeled halfway. This is a longer part of it, which I'm labeled the third part. So this one needs to be glued completely. I glue it completely, because after now I will not be adding any lining again to it. I just have to line this pure one. So this still remain 2.1 in total of thickness, because is the leather in there is 1.2. So and then uh the lining is approximately 0.8. So eventually we're having 2 2.1 in this project. So same thing we add to this back. Get this right. Of after the other part of the back that line, I also line the half of the front. That is what I did in there. And for the pattern of this project, I will be dropping the link to that, where you can download it in the description of this video, so you can easily you out in achieving this project. See, after the time I mark that, the next thing is then go to the machine and try to join it together. So firstly, it's very important I apply gum to the edge. Earlier, which I just tried to arrange it, there wasn't gum in there. Now there had to be gum in there just to hold it temporarily. Yes, in there. So there are 3 stitching sections in this project. They don't want a lot of stitching section. The first stitching section is one that goes round, which I'm about doing right now, and the other ones is the long flap, which is a third part that will be dropping on it. On it, the 1 and 2 is being joined together right now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to pick the third part of which is the long stripe and consider skiving it. Skiving is just reducing the edge. It's very good to skive it. So skive it for the thickness you not should be to do, because when I'm stitching lasting it. So after skiving it, apply my gum and then drop it. And then so it's very important I use a bit of gum to hold it so it will not shake whenever I get to stitch it. So after I do this, I then move it out on the machine straight up to then connect that. So get this project. This project are just 3 stitches. 3 stitches, that is what we have. In fact, I can just slim it down to 2 stitches. The round one connecting the 1 and 2 parts together, and just connecting the two no, connecting the 1 and 2 and the 3 all together. That is just the 2 stitches that is available on this project. So that is what I that's just the stitches that is on this project. The next, to get the sole out now, the board is very important. The materials that we get to need, but the first thing that we need to do here is to get the board out. The board is a fiber board which is we're going to use to form the sole upper, which we've earlier arranged, and the sole we're going to use it to form it to shape and size. So in here, it is the last that will be used to mark the size of the insole. The first, we need to first generate the insole. Can see this last matching directly to the insole. That is first thing we need to first generate. Then we then move forward to take a PVC PU foam like material. We picked it up and then glue it on the fiber board. The fiber board is a 1.5 mm thickness fiber board, which the PU rubber foam is 3 mm. So in total, we're having a 4.5 mm thickness of material in there altogether, that after we've glued it together. The reason we have to use the PU is that it is a puffy material. So when it's the puffy material which is going to face directly to your feet, which the feet is going to rest on, so it's more comfortable when you get to use this to wrap in your project. So this project now, this that we've achieved out, derive out, we will then wrap it right now. So we're going to be wrapping it with the same leather, the leather that I used earlier to line the upper layer, inner, to make the inner of the upper layer. The reason I chose this is that so at the glance at an old of the shoe, looking at the inside of the shoe, the old shoe have a warm color and the awesome color, very good, a very neat and a uniform color. That's why I chose to use the same material which I use for the inner upper lining of the upper for to line the insole right now. So what we're gonna do at this point, what I'm doing right now is then pick it up. Make sure at the time I'm doing it, what I'm doing is that I'm trying to avoid the the lining to rough, to get wrinkled. I try to make it straight as possible, flat, the surface clean, smooth, no wrinkle, no folding as possible. So trim it out, adding some essence. I recommend you add an average of 1.5 centimeter, 1 centimeter SS all round. That is what we're going to be using to fold it, which I will be doing. And in time of you folding, you have to consider, make sure that your folding is neat. What I mean about your folding knitting is that at what you're folding now, it is under the under of it, the other side of the project, that should the wrinkle side should show. Upper side of this is like this, should not show any form of wrinkle at all. In fact, it should not be noticed that it was wrapped. So after you've been able to achieve that, the next phase I'm going to now is to then go to get the rubber out. Get this, I've take a fiber, add it up with the PU 3 rubber. So now the next thing I'm doing now is to now work on the outsole. The combination of the first one I did was the insole. The combination I'm working on right now is a outer, so that is going to stick to the ground. So after cutting it, what I did in there is that, which you might not notice, is that I had an allowance. The wrap material is smaller than the rubber that I cut out. Why? Because I want to add a shoe weight around the edges. I will be adding the shoe weight around the edge, so it's a bit bigger. So at this phase, what I'm doing right now is that my last sole, which is my rubber, is a pure 4mm rubber. I'm adding another PU, solid PU material on it again. The PU material I'm adding is of 8mm in thickness, and I'm adding it in 2/3 of the project we're working on, of the total length of my sole is what I'm adding to it. Half, sorry, I'm so sorry for that. I'm so adding half of it. What I want to derive is that I want a slopy floor. I want a slopy sole. I want to construct a slopy sole. So after I add it up to the half of the sole, I then go to the machine. A bench grinder, small voltage bench grinder, can do this for you. So I then go in there to slope the edges down, make it dive down, and the connecting point should not be noticed. That is what I did in there. So I've been able to slope it down, I've been able to brush it down, and then this, what I'm doing right now, is the weight. At this point, this is a rubber. We have different forms of weight, but the particular weight I'm using in here is a rubber weight. We have a rubber weight, we have a leather weight, and we have a fiber weight. So look at the way it was sloped down. So slow down, you hardly notice the falling point. So it slopes, dives down very well. So at edge, I apply gum around the edge, all in the aim, because I want to connect my weight around these edges. Okay, so at the earlier point, I said that I add an extra space in here so that the upper layer is smaller than the inner layer. The upper layer, which is the insole, which was wrapped, is smaller than the sole. Okay, so that is just for me for my weight to be accommodated. So I now add this weight round it now. Add this weight round it now, making it close firm, because it's gonna this is the last set of component I'm adding to my sole before I proceed to the bench grinder to smoothen it all round. So now I've added. Now make sure that your weight is firm, is close to the wrapped or insole is closed. And after I've achieved that, the reason the insole was depth in the middle of the outer sole is that so if I could get the accurate shape all around. So I've gotten that. It's very important you watch it and mount pressure, make sure it sticks and the weight is not will not remove at any time soon. Okay, I've achieved that. That is the brand. That is up to say that label. I try to add up a label into it. This sticky label is a weaving label. Add onto it, stitch it, and then that is it. Okay. At that point, at this project, I lost some video content around the size of. But what happened here in there was that I was able to stitch that label. After I stitch it, then I was able to finish that sole. So that second section, which is the sole arrangement, is I was done with it on that point. So I've walked you through the upper making. I've walked you through the sole making. Now is now the lasting stage. This lasting stage is when I'm going to form this to shape and size. So I've started forming it right now. So earlier, this last at any point, the last you're using to last your shoe must be the last that you use to make the pattern. What I refer to as last is the plastic shoe mold that I'm using to make this. So while the lasting is the lasting process of it, is the process of forming, that's the lasting. But the last is the plastic one. So okay, now we need to start forming it all around it step by step. So I have two layers on the fabric, on the shoe, which is the inner. Remember the inner, which is the leather. That was the first one I tried to form very well. And one thing I have to know, or you have to get here, is that at every point you need to last your project. You have different layers. If you have like two layers in it, which is the inner and the upper layer, now you make sure that your inner layer is lapping very very well to your shoe mold. There should not be vacant vacuum at all. It should not be wrinkled, should not be vacant or vacuum in there. They should be lapping directly and very firm. The firm and how smooth it is, that is going to be when we get to remove it. So I use my pinching plier to virtually grip everything together. I can see everything firming right in there. So after that, sorry for that, my front sleeve adhesive is uh shooting video got lost again. So I add the adhesive to that, which makes the front a bit stronger. Add now, it makes this front stronger a bit, so the shape will not loosen up. That is it. So you can use your, there's a wax adhesive, there's a wax front sleeve, there's a liquid adhesive, but here I use a wax adhesive to do that. So after which gum was applied to the other layer, and then I stylishly drop the leather down. Drop the leather down, the same procedure which I used to last the first layer of the leather, which I did earlier, that was firm. That was the same procedure I'm going to use now to get the last one out. Just because I've stretched this leather earlier, it's going to make it a bit easier for me to just start picking this with my pinching lasting plier and start arranging it. Note, the beauty of your shoe starts from the front tips of the shoe. At any time you're lasting your project, you have to last this project neatly. Your project has to be neatly last, especially the tips must not be wrinkled at all. Any part of the shoe must not be wrinkled, so everything needs to be balanced. If some part needs to is looking wrinkled, just pick your hammer and just tap it around very well. So it's balanced, we've lasted. The next phase, by the time we've achieved this, is the next thing I do, but is to continue mount pressure. Make sure it's solid. The leather goes firm on the shoe mold, and even when you're padding the mounting pressure on the leathers, make sure you don't eventually dent or even injure the leather itself. So once you have this, the next phase is to then go and glue the upper and the sole together. To glue the upper and the sole together, what we need to do in the first thing is to then get the vacuum in between the sole, which was created after we've last it. That is when I'm now adding a PU material to cover it up. I'm going to cover it up, add a shoe shank for it to retain the shape. So the PU material is doing this work, but a shoe cork can be used to bake that too. Shoe cork is a standard material you are meant to use to do that, but at the absence of that in Nigeria, my country, we don't have that in supply. So I used to use this PU material to fill in that. It's most importantly, it should be well filled, and then apply gum all around it. Oftentimes I've received the comment that which gum is good, there's no particular gum that is not good. All depends on how you apply it, on the material to which you apply it, and what are the time variance that you leave for it to dry before you apply it. So those are the things I advise people to take note in the gum. All gum that are satisfied with standard are good to go. So once you're gumming on leather, look out for it. That means you have to use a chloroprene gum to get. So I use a chloroprene gum in getting these all together. And in my process of gumming, I try to cover all the edges. The edges was being able to cover because I use the last to get the insole, I use the insole to get the last sole, I use the last sole to gauge the wetting area. So all this working together makes my sole fit and cover very very well. Every area of it covered, and I don't need to mount pressure on it. While you mount pressure on it with the hammer, be also careful, don't injure the sole. So I'm done with this now. The next thing I will do now is that I will then go to the bench grinder to smoothen the edges. The earlier time I finished the sole, I didn't smoothen, I didn't add in the finishing touch to the edges. So now I'm going to go to the bench grinder to do a finishing touch on the edges. So while doing your finishing touch, you have to be very careful. I've been working with shoe machine for years, so I'm always very careful. I know how to handle my shoe very well, or else if it's not well handled, then your bench grinder can then damage your shoe, can still injure your shoe. So you have to be very careful when you do that. So, and if you know you are not going to be very careful, then I'll recommend you do the knitting before you glue the upper and the sole together. So at the time you are successfully get to do this, finish it, smooth it, have it a good finishing, the next phase is to then go and then apply an organic dye to cover the edge. I need to cover this edge so you can have a uniform black. Please, if you have any question pertaining to the making of this, please drop it in the comment section of this video. I will definitely respond to you. I did this so for you to have a detailed understanding of it. As you can see, I follow it step by step, and then I give you the reason why I took each steps. And so if you have any challenges, drop in the comment section. I will definitely respond to this. See, a project is as easy as this. Eventually I weigh the kilo with the weight of this project because I used more of PU material. The total weight of this goes, and a foot goes about 0.3 kilo. So it's a wonderful weight. It's not heavy. Thank you so much for connecting. Thank you so much for watching to this time. Hope you like what you've seen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe and click notification bell for you to be notified when I have awesome video like this again on this platform Sunday, and I'll look forward to have you in my subsequent upload.